Hi everybody, let's talk about OSHA citations today. It's no big secret that recently an Alabama auto parts manufacturer was cited for $2.5 million in alleged violations. And keep in mind, throughout this video at this point, these violations are alleged, and I'm sure that we'll be working on those as we move forward. But either way, I just wanted to talk with you for a moment about the citations and how you can use your safety library to prevent this type of citation. It is very important. I have gone through many OSHA citations where we went into informal conference and settled, or we ended up in a contestment and then ended up in a settlement or a judgment. But either way, there are so many ways today a company can protect itself and its employees. Now, in my mind, the number one objective is that we prevent accidents and injuries to our employees. And with your safety library, there are many training tools that will help you achieve that with your employees. The main thing is you have to use it. There are so many handouts, so many PowerPoints, written programs. All of these are educational tools for your safety director as well as your employees. And the topics are limitless. I mean, there are like 50 some odd topics in there that you can use, whether it's machine guarding or lockout, tagout, or hazard communication, forklift, whatever it might be. There should be something there that would help you prevent accidents and injuries. But at the same time, we have to consider OSHA compliance, making sure that we have our written programs in place, making sure that we have conducted employee training. Documentation is everything. We have to document sign-in sheets, document the written programs, and some of the programs will actually call for an annual audit. Lockout tagout is a prime example. Every year you have to conduct an annual audit of lockout tagout procedures to make sure they're still current, make sure there's still the right procedures in place. If you've added new equipment or maybe you've changed the process, make sure you've updated your lockout tagout program for that change. It's not something that's really hard. It's something that when you fall into putting programs in place, once you have them in place, the maintenance part of it is so important to you. So we'll talk about some of that today. Lockout tagout was in this $2.5 million citation. It consisted of PPE, lockout tagout, not having the locks and the hasp and all the tools that they needed to have an effective lockout tagout program. So, you know, in your programs, it's going to tell you that you need these things and how critically important it is for you to have them in place and that your employees understand how to use them. Now, in this particular situation, and again, remember, it's alleged and it is a very tragic situation. But moving forward with it, we encourage companies to go to your safety library, look at your lockout tagout programs. There are written programs. Go through those. Make sure the written program is 90% complete for you when you download it. You might need to do about 10% of site-specific or some kind of machine-specific writing to go in there. But when you put your procedures together, so we say, number one, you have your written program in place. Number two, we need to put some procedures together. What are the lockout tagout procedures? Now, one of the ones that I really like to follow is called a 6-step lockout tagout procedure. Number one, you notify the employees around you, which we call the effective. The effective employees are not the authorized employees. The authorized will be the ones who are actually conducting lockout tagout and then conducting either maintenance or service on a specific piece of equipment. But the affected employees are normally your operators or somebody of that nature, somebody in the area. So you notify them, you take the equipment into your normal shutdown procedures and go ahead and do your shutdown. And then at that point, you start isolating the energy that's coming into that piece of equipment. There may be one, there may be two or three. All of them need to be isolated. If it's electrical, then you want to take a disconnect, shut it off, lock it out. If it's hydraulic, you may want to shut down the pumps, make sure you drain off any pressure that may be built up in some of the lines, or it could be something else. And that is something that you have to determine in your facility. Now, once you've done those things, you need to verify that you have locked out the power sources or the energy sources coming into the machine. Hit the start button. See if the machine will move. If it doesn't move, double check everything. You should be ready to go to work for either your service or your repair or whatever you might be doing for that particular piece of equipment. Now, once you've completed the service or repair or maintenance, whatever it might be, then the next thing you want to do is look around for any tools that you may have laid or left laying in the equipment. Make sure you don't try to start up a piece of equipment with a tool still inside there. And make sure you do your cleanup the way you should. And once all of the repairs or maintenance are verified and you're finished, then you want to back right out of your lockout tagout. You'll take a look at your equipment, make sure you're clean, you're ready to go, then start restoring the energy sources to the piece of equipment. And at that point, you can remove your locks and your tags, notify everyone around you, we are about to start up this piece of equipment, and go back into production. That is your affected people, your machine operators, or other people who may just be working in that immediate area. So once you've done that, then you're ready to go start the machine back up and go back into production. It's not a complicated task. It's a matter of making sure that we do it and we follow all the procedures, and we do this each and every time. Now, I also say anytime you have a piece of equipment that you're working on, and it doesn't matter if it's a forklift or if it is a mold injection machine or whatever it might be, if there is an operator's manual or a manufacturer's manual there, be sure to read that manual. You will always want to follow the manufacturer's recommendations. If the manufacturer says you need to do this, then trust me, you need to do that. Taking shortcuts is where a lot of times we run into accidents and injuries and even Osha citations. So in this event, this $2.5 million citation this company received is a lot of lockout, tagout, a lot of machine guarding, a lot of missing pieces of what appears to be safety equipment that's needed to provide an effective lockout, tagout program. And it can all be eliminated just by going to your safety library, go in, check your written programs, look at the safety handouts, look at the PowerPoints, develop your program. It's all there for you. Again, 90% is complete. You might need to do some site-specific work, but beyond that, you have everything that you need on your safety library. And be sure to look in there. Now, we will probably see more and more OSHA involvement as we move forward. But number one, again, we want to prevent accidents and injuries to our employees. Remember that if you have a fatality, you have 8 hours to report it to OSHA. If you have an amputation, a loss of an eye, or an employee that stays one night in the hospital, that also has to be reported to OSHA within 24 hours. And I know from my personal experience of this year, or let me say in 2016, I reported 5 different instances that was a required reportable, and 4 of the 5 ended up in inspections. So something you want to be guarded on. Not only do we want to prevent accidents and injuries to our employees, we also want to make sure that we have all of our documentation in place, which would make us OSHA compliant as well. Now, nothing wrong with going above and beyond. If your operator's manual or your owner's manual of a certain piece of equipment directs you to do a certain item, then I would certainly do it. But if you see a better way to do it, or a better way to maybe eliminate what you would call a recognized hazard, then I would certainly move to those procedures as well. Sometimes it's a matter of using a block or using something that would block a die instead of just going completely shut down. If you're die press or something along that line, then blocking is required to put something under that die press so that gravity doesn't take effect and that press fall while someone is in there working. So common sense, go through, take a real close look, evaluate your facility. I would say at least quarterly. If you don't do it monthly, at a minimum quarterly, have someone involve some employees, have them to go with you, and let's look at all the different things that are going on in our facilities with our equipment. Now, another big item is machine guarding, making sure that fingers cannot get in an area of pinch point at the point of operation. And that's sometimes I think we become null to some of that. We're in there so much that we may not realize that we're missing a pinch point. So that's where another set of eyes sometimes is a really good example, a really good principle to set up to help you find these things before another third set of eyes comes in and finds them for you. So I hope this was helpful for you today. Be sure to go to your safety library, look through all the topics, look at the topics that apply to your facility, and utilize those tools. Remember, safety tools and safety information is kind of like medicine. It doesn't help if you don't use it. So be sure to use it, and we look for a much safer 2017 as we move forward into this year. And I thank you, and I hope you have a great day, and I'll be talking to you soon with some other videos.